They call me Ben. Been working at the facility for 15 years now. Facility. That's what we insiders call Area 51. Keeps things sterile, I guess. Most folks out there imagine flying saucers and little green men. They ain't entirely wrong, but the reality is a hell of a lot stranger and buried way deeper than some hangar on the Nevada flatlands. I'm talking about Level 21. Nobody talks about Level 21. It's not on any official blueprints, not in any handbook. You only know about it if you've been down there, if you've heard the silence, a different kind of silence than the desert night, a heavy, waiting silence. I started out on Sub-Level 3, maintenance, worked my way up, clearance by clearance, each one feeling like another layer peeled back from some cosmic onion. Level 21 was the core. My job now? Let's just say I'm a facilitator. I make sure things run smoothly, systems stay online, doors stay locked, and the guests, well, the guests stay comfortable in their own unique ways. They're not what you see in the movies, not all of them. Some look almost human if you squint and ignore the eyes. Others make your stomach churn just looking at the containment field. We got one we call the Weaver on 21B. Never seen anything like it. But it's the silence from 21A that gets to you. That's where they keep Unit 7. Been there longer than I have, and it never makes a sound. Not a peep. You can feel it, though. A presence, like a pressure in the air. Tonight I got the late shift on 21. Just me and the hum of the generators, the blink of the monitors, and the silence from beyond those reinforced steel doors. Another night in the deepest secret America keeps.
My routine on Level 21 was meticulous, almost meditative. Every gauge, every pressure reading, every silent alarm, all checked, double-checked. Most of my guests were stable, predictable in their containment. The Weaver on 21B, for instance, a shimmering, amorphous entity. It would occasionally emit faint, almost musical hums, creating intricate glowing patterns on its containment field. Fascinating in a terrifying sort of way. But it was 21A, Unit 7, that always held my focus. The silence from that chamber was absolute. No hums, no shimmers, no sounds at all. Yet tonight, as I approached its reinforced access panel, I felt it. A faint, rhythmic pulse vibrating through the soles of my boots, a low thrum that seemed to bypass my ears and resonate directly in my chest. It wasn't a mechanical vibration, it was organic, and it was getting stronger. My console confirmed the standard readings: containment field stable, atmospheric pressure optimal. Everything was normal, but the pulse intensified, a slow, deliberate beat like a colossal heart struggling to break free. My heart started to pound in sync with it. A cold sweat pricked my forehead. I called it in, a routine anomaly report. Command responded with standard acknowledgments, but the tone of the voice on the other end felt dismissive, unconcerned, like this was just another Tuesday night. But it wasn't. I pressed my palm against the cool steel door of 21A. The pulse was undeniable. Whatever was inside was awake, and it was trying to communicate. The pulse grew in intensity, now a constant low thrumming that made the very air vibrate. My routine checks became frantic. I triple-checked every containment protocol. The console kept flashing green, all systems nominal, but the pulse, that alien heartbeat, screamed otherwise. Then an alarm, not a blaring red alert wail, but but a subtle, almost melodic chime from a long decommissioned auxiliary monitoring system, one that hadn't been active in decades. It was registering a biosignature from inside Unit 7, a fluctuating, impossibly complex waveform that indicated activity, life. I immediately tried to call it in again, but my comms were dead. Not static, just silence. Level 21 was completely cut off. Panic, cold and sharp, began to set in. This wasn't a drill. This wasn't an anomaly. This was a breach. Not a physical one, but a breach of the absolute silence that defined Unit 7. Through the thick, armored viewport of the main observation deck, I saw it. A faint internal light shimmering within the darkness of Unit 7's chamber. It was subtle at first, then intensified, forming into intricate, shifting patterns on the chamber walls. It was communicating, or reacting. My heart hammered. 15 years of protocol, of strict adherence to rules, shattered in an instant. Command was unresponsive. The facility was blind. I was alone on Level 21 with a waking entity that had been silent for decades. I pulled out my sidearm, a standard-issue tranquilizer rifle, feeling its useless weight in my trembling hand. This wasn't a guest. This was a force. And it was making itself known.
The light within Unit 7 intensified, shifting from mere patterns to complex, almost living fractals that pulsed with an undeniable rhythm. Then the hum returned, but it wasn't just a physical vibration anymore. It was a resonance directly in my mind, bypassing my ears, bypassing any known sensory input. It was a deluge of images, sensations, raw data that flooded my consciousness. Distant star fields, cosmic dust clouds swirling into impossible shapes, fragmented echoes of alien languages that were not spoken, but felt. My head throbbed, threatening to split open. I stumbled back, clutching my head, fighting against the overwhelming mental intrusion. This wasn't communication. It was an invasion of my very thoughts. I saw glimpses of Unit 7's true form, not through the viewport, but directly in my mind's eye. A being of pure energy, a being of light, bound within the confines of the chamber. And then a message, clear as day, yet not in words. Release. It was a demand, an ancient imperative. This entity wasn't just awakening. It was reaching out directly into my consciousness, seeking liberation. My training, years of Area 51's rigorous psychological conditioning screamed, resist, contain. But the sheer volume of alien knowledge, the undeniable truth of its existence, threatened to shatter my sanity. I felt my own memories, my own thoughts beginning to fray, to intermingle with the overwhelming alien data. This wasn't a typical alien. This was a fundamental force, a being of consciousness itself. The air around me crackled with an almost visible energy, the control panels sparking as the sheer psychic pressure mounted. I knew with chilling certainty that the silent entity in Unit 7 wasn't just a captive, it was a cosmic prisoner, and its desperate plea for freedom was a force that could unravel reality itself, and I was now its unwilling, terrified conduit. The urge to release was almost unbearable, a primal command echoing in the very core of my being. My hands, despite my conscious will, trembled as they hovered over the manual override controls. Every fiber of my training screamed, protocol, containment at all costs. But the alien entity's mental presence was overwhelming, subtly twisting my perception, making the reinforced walls of Unit 7 feel like a cruel, unjust prison for something ancient and magnificent. I felt waves of cosmic history, glimpses of its endless silent journey through the void before its capture. It wasn't hostile, not in the way we understood. It was simply restrained. My conscious mind wrestled with the raw data flooding my thoughts. If I released it, what then? Chaos? Destruction?
or a profound, terrifying new chapter for humanity. The consortium, the facility, they saw it as a weapon, a resource to be controlled. But the entity saw itself as fundamental, essential, a part of the universe that could not be bound. I saw its truth, and my own, as a mere human, began to unravel. A faint hum in my earpiece broke through the mental clamor. "Ben, report. We're getting unusual readings from your sector." Command. They were finally detecting the energy surges, the overflow from Unit 7's psychic pressure. They were coming. Major Anya Sharma, I knew, would be leading the response. She wouldn't hesitate. She wouldn't understand. She would see only a breach, a threat, and would follow protocol to the letter. This was my moment of choice. Uphold the rules of men or heed the silent plea of the cosmos. The hum of the entity intensified, resonating directly with the manual override sequence, almost guiding my fingers, urging me to type the code. My hand twitched. The future of everything I knew hung in the balance.
The decision, when it came, was not a conscious thought, but a primal, overwhelming command from within. My fingers, guided by an impulse that transcended my own will, slammed down on the manual override. A series of rapid clicks and whirs filled the chamber, shockingly loud after the mental hum. The colossal locking mechanisms of Unit 7's reinforced door began to retract, slowly, deliberately. Alarms, real alarms this time, blared through the facility, a cacophony of red lights and piercing sirens. "Breach! Level 21! Full containment alert!" I felt a surge of energy, not the alien hum, but a profound, almost dizzying sense of anticipation. The light from Unit 7's chamber intensified, a blinding, pure white energy pouring into the corridor. And then it was there. Not a creature of flesh and blood, but a being of pure, radiant light, a swirling vortex of energy and consciousness that pulsed with impossible geometries. It had no discernible form, no eyes, no limbs, yet its presence was overwhelming, benevolent, and ancient. It expanded, filling the corridor, brushing past me, and in that instant of contact, my mind exploded with clarity. I understood everything. Unit 7 was not a prisoner. It was a seed, a cosmic anomaly, a nexus of pure consciousness sent to Earth millennia ago, meant to awaken when humanity was ready. It had been prematurely awakened by human interference, by our attempts to contain and weaponize it. The facility, Area 51, they weren't holding a monster. They were unwittingly containing a fundamental universal force, a part of the cosmos that sought connection, not conquest. Its silent plea for release wasn't selfish. It was a call to fulfill its purpose. But now, it was free. The release of Unit 7 sent shockwaves not just through the facility's security systems, but through its very structure. The pure energy being expanded, effortlessly phasing through walls, through concrete, through steel, leaving behind a shimmering, ethereal trail. It wasn't moving to escape. It was moving to connect. The entire facility began to hum, not with machinery, but with a high-pitched resonating frequency that vibrated the very air, causing lights to explode and monitors to shower sparks. Alarms became a deafening cacophony. Major Anya Sharma, her face a mask of cold fury, burst into the corridor with a full squad of heavily armed security forces. Her eyes, usually cold and unyielding, widened in disbelief as she witnessed the energy being. "Contain it! Containment Protocol Gamma!" she screamed, her voice barely audible over the alarms. But their weapons were useless. Plasma bolts dissipated. Energy shields flickered and collapsed. The entity was untouchable, a fundamental force beyond their comprehension or control. As the energy being passed through each level, the facility itself seemed to react. Control rooms went dark, communication arrays died, and automated defenses turned on themselves, firing wildly into empty corridors. This wasn't an attack, it was a recalibration. The energy being was subtly rewiring the facility's vast network, not to destroy it, but to reconfigure it, to align it with its own cosmic purpose. I could feel it, the subtle shifts in the facility's energy grids, the sudden coherence of previously chaotic signals. The entire underground complex was being transformed, repurposed from a prison into a conduit. I stood, a silent witness, my mind still reeling from the profound understanding it had just gained, watching the very foundations of Area 51 being unmade and remade by a force it had unwittingly trapped. The silence was over. Now, the symphony of awakening had begun.
The energy being ascended, effortlessly phasing through the colossal blast doors and layers of rock, its pulsating light a silent beacon. The ground above Area 51 began to hum, a deep, resonating thrum that soon became audible for miles, then hundreds of miles. It wasn't the sound of an engine. It was the sound of the desert itself awakening, vibrating in sync with the cosmic force. Above ground, the air shimmered, distorting the familiar Nevadan landscape. Then the sky opened. Not literally, but the clouds above Area 51 began to part in impossible geometric patterns, swirling away to reveal a perfectly circular void. From this void, streaks of the same pure, radiant white energy descended, touching specific points across the globe. Ancient sites, geological fault lines, powerful energy vortexes that had long been dismissed as mere legends. This wasn't a weapon, it was a connection. The energy being was re-establishing its planetary network, activating dormant nodes and preparing Earth for a grand cosmic shift. I watched it unfold from the main control room, the monitors still flickering with fragmented data, now showing global energy spikes and impossible atmospheric phenomena. Command was in total disarray. Dr. Elias Vance and Dr. Evelyn Reed, who had dismissed my initial warnings, stared at the screens, their faces pale with abject terror and dawning horrified comprehension. Major Anya Sharma, having witnessed the impossible, could only issue desperate, futile calls for backup that never came. The sheer scale of the event was overwhelming, humbling. The invasion wasn't from a hostile fleet. It was from a single, benevolent, yet utterly overwhelming force meant to connect Earth to a larger cosmic consciousness. Area 51 wasn't a prison. It was a lock. And it had just been picked. As the energy beams rooted themselves across the globe, a new hum began to resonate, not the localized thrum of Unit 7, but a global, pervasive frequency that seemed to permeate every living thing. It was a symphony, not of sound, but of pure data, of consciousness. My mind, still intertwined with the lingering echoes of the energy being, received it all. It wasn't words. It was a deluge of images, emotions, concepts, the history of Earth seen through the eyes of ancient cosmic observers, the intricate dance of galaxies, the interconnectedness of all life across the universe. Humanity wasn't being assimilated in the way we feared. It was being integrated into a grander consciousness, uplifted to a higher plane of understanding. This was the awakening the energy being had come to facilitate. The panic on Earth, initially widespread, began to subside, not through force, but through understanding. People, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of knowledge and universal connection, stopped screaming and started looking up. Their eyes, once filled with terror, now reflected a profound wonder, an almost spiritual awe. The energy being was healing, connecting, elevating. It was a terrifying, beautiful process, stripping away the veil of ignorance and exposing the raw, interconnected truth of existence. The military, confused and disarmed by a force beyond their comprehension, simply ceased their futile efforts. The consortium, its power built on secrecy, found its foundation crumbling as knowledge became universal, accessible to all. I felt myself changing, becoming part of something larger. My individual thoughts, while still my own, were now part of a vast, benevolent network.
The ultimate purpose of Unit 7, the seed, became clear. It was a key designed to unlock Earth's dormant potential, to welcome us into a galactic consciousness, not as conquerors or conquered, but as partners in a cosmic dance. The silence of the desert had been broken not by an invasion, but by the symphony of unity, an ultimate first contact unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. The world was transformed. The integration wasn't a loss of self, but an expansion. Humanity now shared a collective consciousness, a vast, interconnected web of thoughts, emotions, and knowledge that transcended language and culture. Wars ceased. Conflicts became irrelevant in the face of universal understanding. The alien presence, the energy being, remained, acting as a benevolent conductor, a bridge to the grander cosmic tapestry. We understood now that it was merely a part of a larger network, a galactic consciousness that embraced sentient life across the stars. Area 51, once the symbol of secrecy and fear, became a nexus of learning, a gateway to new understanding. Its walls, once reinforced to keep the unknown out, now hummed with the same resonant frequency as the planet, a vibrant symphony of connection. I, Ben, the humble facilitator, found my purpose redefined. My mind, forever touched by Unit 7's essence, became a bridge between humanity's newly expanded consciousness and the ancient wisdom of the energy being. I understood the data, the signals, the cosmic symphony in a way few others could. The alien ship, the triangular prism, remained in orbit, no longer a threat, but a silent guardian, its presence a constant reminder of our new place in the universe. It was a new dawn for humanity, a terrifying, beautiful, and utterly profound transformation. We were no longer alone, not just in the universe, but within ourselves. The secrets of Area 51 were truly revealed, not as a conspiracy of hidden monsters, but as the awakening of a dormant cosmic connection. The long silence was over. The universe had welcomed us, not as conquerors or conquered, but as new voices in its eternal song.